I'm sitting here in Gaming, Austria in a little tea kitchen where the students use this to gather and hang out while they're here for their semester. And I just am overcome with so many thoughts and emotions being back here after almost a decade of when I first stepped foot onto this campus in Gaming. I've also been a few other places this trip. I've been back to Trumau, which is where I went to grad school. And there's just so many things that I want to chat with you about today, so let's get into it. Maybe you're a young college student and you are dreaming of spending some time abroad, or maybe you're a young adult and you've got to that point where you're like itching for something new and you want to try something kind of radical like living abroad. Well, I can tell you I've been there and I've done it. And so I want to talk to you specifically about kind of some of the lessons that I've learned along the way, and then what I'm still learning today as I come back and I visit these places that were so near and dear to my heart for such a long time. Living abroad, studying, whatever you're doing can be such an amazing experience. You learn so much about yourself, about other people, how to relate to other people, how to communicate well with other people so that you get what you want and what they want, and you mesh them together. It teaches you about compromise. It teaches you about so many things, so many life skills. And my experience was very similar, and I wouldn't change that for the world. But one of the things that I am learning is that when I lived here, when I was studying, I imagined my life here. And I imagined my life here long term because it was peaceful. It was rewarding. It was, things were moving. I was changing. And it was a safe place to be, right? You think, moving abroad is kind of like big experiences, new things. You don't always have like your safe place to come home to. But truly the places that I lived kind of became that haven. We could go out, learn, grow, do the thing, and then come back. And it was kind of this like a peaceful place where we knew we could grow together because everyone was on the same journey. And that was so incredibly enticing to me, as it might be for some of you as well. And it was just so wonderful to have this experience with other people, but especially for myself to have this place where I could come back to really grow and have these deep roots being planted in my life and in my faith and in everything like that. So I imagined my life here. Well, when that didn't happen, when I had to leave unexpectedly during grad school, I thought, what are my plans now? What am I possibly going to do? And what's so great about being able to come back to a place that you loved so much and that you learned from, you never stop learning. You never stop learning. And so coming back to these places, I've learned quite a few things about myself and about my time in these places. And one of the things that I've learned is that what I experienced, the growth that I experienced here, the roots that I put down here have only served me so well in the mission that God called me to in the long run. Right? For a time, right? I talk about seasons a lot. There are seasons in our lives, and this was a season in my life, and I can so clearly see that now, coming back much, in a different spot and, walking through all these cities. I can feel it. My physical body can feel it. I'm in a different place than I was when I was here and tramping about the continent as one does when they're a young person. But truly, like the time that I spent here was so blessed, and it was also the season that I was called to in that season. I'm not saying that it wasn't for me because it isn't for me now. It was for me in that season. And sometimes we can really get caught up in seasons and really wonder what the Lord wants for us in that particular season. And that's really what it comes down to, is to continue to seek Him in each particular season, because something that may be true for a season may be something that He uses for the next season, right? And I think that is a beautiful way to live, to continue to seek Him in everything that we are doing, because he truly has the best plan. His plan is far better than ours. And when I've leaned into that, whether it was when I was here and studying and just leaning into the season that I was in, leaning into the fact that God's plan is bigger than mine, questioning why am I so far away from my family, questioning all of these things, leaning into what he wants for me at that time really gave me so much peace, and it gives me peace today. Going back home and being where I live now, of course, there's still questions. What am I doing? I thought this was what I was going to do with my life, all these things, right? And to continue to seek him, because his plan is far better than ours. At the time when I left Trumau, in grad school, I got really sick and I had to move home to the States to get treatment. And at first I left with a carry-on and I thought I was going to come back in 2 weeks. And that did not end up happening. And so for months, I was just sitting at home in treatment, miserable in so many ways because I was sick, and questioning, was this whole time a waste? Is this a waste? Why am I here? Why am I not there? It was really this really confusing time. And then COVID hit. And I really thought at that point, I'm never going to go back. There's no way that I'm going to make it back there now, with my health, and then now with the world shutting down. And truly, no one knew what was going on during the pandemic. There were so many things, and I really didn't think I would ever be able to come back. And so it's such a blessing, and the Lord's plan is just so much better than ours, that I was able to come back and attend this amazing conference on John Paul II's theology of the body and gender ideology. And it was just such an incredible time to be able to go back. A little weird, not with the students I was there with, but to see the professors and to engage in that same type of academic, intellectual work that I did so often there on this topic of theology of the body and gender ideology. And it was just so refreshing for my soul, and also to kind of go back and have a little bit of closure of that season of my life and go back to those places. And I know that that's not possible for everyone, right? I didn't think it was possible for me for many years, and it is only truly by the grace of God and his plan being better than mine that I had let go of that dream. I had let go of that need for closure, that need to go back and, see it through. I found a different way. I took classes to finish my degree. I was living in 2 time zones, going to class in America and taking classes online on European time. And it was a wild time, but we got through that, right? I figured that part out and truly never thought I would go back. And it's just been such a blessing. And it was really when I was able to kind of surrender that and say, you know what, I don't need this. I don't need for my flesh to be happy to go back there, for my own selfish desires to go back to that place that I loved so much, to really have what he wanted in that season come to fruition. And so it's just been truly so amazing to be able to go back and visit. Not that I needed it, but that it was a special blessing from the Lord, and that I acknowledge that was not the plan for a long time, and some of us may never be able to go back to these places. But if you do get the opportunity to, it is so important to keep the right mindset, to continue to ask the Lord, what is your will for me? To see him working in all of this, and just to continue to follow him in so much faith, trust, and surrender, truly, because his plan is so much bigger than ours. And if you've ever struggled in a season of life where you're not able to see that, not able to see that his plan is better than yours, and you're holding so tightly to your plan that you really, really want this to happen, and you're kind of bargaining with God, right? This is why, this is XYZ reason why this is such a great idea for me. I've been there, and I'm just going to repeat myself here and say that God's plan is far better and bigger than our plans ever could be. I don't know if you've ever seen that image where it's like there's a little girl in front of Jesus, and he is holding like this massive bouquet behind his back of flowers. And there's a little girl like holding one flower or like a tiny bouquet, and he's asking for her to give it to him. And she's sad, she's crying. She's like, I don't want to give up this little bouquet. It's all that I have. Meanwhile, he has a bigger, better bouquet behind his back, ready to give her when she surrenders her little bouquet to him. And that's how I see truly this season of my life, and also different seasons of how we hold on so tightly to things when God's plan is so much bigger and so much better for us. And so I just encourage you to continue to ask him for his guidance and his plan for you in your life, and that you are able to surrender the little things that you're holding so tightly to receive the bigger, better things that he has in store for you. I'm cheering for you.